Hello, I'm your host, John Cavendish, and welcome to the Amazon Strategist Show, the show that's all strategy with no hacks, no silver bullets, and no magic pills, just real practical strategies for your Amazon business. So today, I have a very special guest. He stepped into the e-commerce space after having a spinal injury and built himself a very successful brand of spinal health products. Roll that forward a long time, and Chris has designed his own products and built many other businesses in the Amazon marketplace. From his success, people started approaching him and asked them to help him launch their products. So far, he's launched over 2,000 products and 1,500 listing optimizations in the Amazon space. That's probably a lot higher right now. We'll get him to confirm in a minute. This led him to found the Sophie Society in 2019. We'll get some more information on why it's called the Sophie Society very soon. And Sophie Society applies losing my mind, scientific principles to truth finding to give a constant feedback loop so that you can have a scientific approach to Amazon. So without further ado, please welcome Chris Rawlings.
What's up, man? Glad to be here.
Yeah, really good to have you here. And just before we launched and started recording, I asked you why the Sophie Society is. Do you know someone called Sophie?
Yeah, that's kind of one of the first questions that we get all the time. And no, it is not my friend's mom who I have a crush on. It's a little bit deeper than that. It's the Greek root for wisdom, Sophie. It's in the word philosophy, and my understanding is that it's wisdom gained from tough experience. So I had a tough experience in one of my businesses where I tried to grow way too fast, way too aggressively, and I brought on investors that were not friendly, who ended up taking over the business. And it was one of the toughest times that I've experienced in my life, and definitely in business. So I wanted to ingrain that failures are not really failures if you learn from them. So ingraining the learnings and the lessons and the principles, not in an emotional way, but in just a rational way to change the algorithm for your decision making. Wanted to ingrain that in the very fabric of my next company. So that's why the name is Sophie Society. It's basically wisdom society.
Oh, I love it. And yeah, and I think we all learn the biggest lessons through pain. We
Yes.
change at an inflection point, which is either pain, knowledge. I watched this video last night. It was really interesting. I always just said pain. Everyone changes most when they get enough leverage, and leverage comes through pain. But there was a video yesterday that talked about pain, knowledge, and something else, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting because I've been rereading Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. Read it about 10 years ago. And then just picked it up again because I was reading one of Ryan Holiday's books called Discipline is Destiny. And he's a huge fan of Marcus Aurelius. So I bought the book again, and I'm almost finished rereading it now. That's one of the major themes in it, and in general in Stoic wisdom.
Is pain?
Yeah, is like not fearing pain and not seeing pain as bad, and also not seeking pleasure and not seeing pleasure as really inherently good, and
Mm.
seeing that pain, a lot of good can come from pain, and likewise bad can come from pleasure as well. So yeah, and I really resonate with that. I mean, that definitely mirrors what I've experienced in my life too.
Yeah, and it reminds me of that story of like where the guy things keep happening to a guy, and he keeps saying, "We'll see."
Yes, that's right. I wish that I could recite it because it's such a good one. It's like his horse breaks his leg and he gets stuck in this town. And it's like somebody asks him, like, "Oh, did you feel bad about that?" Or they're like, "Oh, so sorry." And he's like, "We'll see." And then him being in that town, he meets the girl of his dreams. So that broken leg becomes like really good news, and people are congratulating him. And he says, "We'll see." But then the girl cheats on him, and it's the worst time of his life. And it keeps going and going and going like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that story. I'm gonna look it up after this because it's great. Everybody listening now should look that up.
yeah, it's really cool. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, good idea. Nice.
And I feel like, yeah, like you're saying about Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, like a lot of these older books, I mean, that's a very old book, but
Yeah.
going through, like, they're just the rehashed information over and over again. Like, I've been rereading Think and Grow Rich the last
Mm,
few weeks. And I'm like, a lot of the modern personal development mindset stuff is all based on this. It's all
mhm.
not rehashed, but repackaged stuff. And I'm sure Think and Grow Rich is also repackaged ideas all the way back to the philosophers. But it's
Yeah.
just interesting, isn't it? Reading the same thing in many, many different ways as you go back.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and yet it still has value because, when it's said from our perspective now, from someone that we now, respect or look up to, and it can use like references that make sense to us now, like it gets ingrained deeper.
Mm,
So it's still worthwhile. I struggle with this when I create content. I'm always trying to make it so unique and so valuable, and that sometimes I feel like, I would do well to release myself from some of these boundaries and not
mm.
be too upset for overlapping information that's already been released. And it's not every single piece of content I release has to be a brand new discovery. you know if it's packaged in a different way, or is made more accessible, or more understandable, it's still valuable.
Yeah, by you, because someone identifies more with you than they do than this 100-year-old guy with very racist stereotypes, if you read Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I totally agree there. And also, I mean, just as my share, I think the same thing. Like whenever I go and speak at a conference or speak on a podcast and someone asks, "Oh, can you give us something totally unique you've never shared before?" And I'm like, well, that's not going to be as good as the stuff I've shared many times before.
Yeah, right, true.
Most people need to hear something many times before they do it, or 10 times before you actually take action. So
Yep,
that's always
that's
my
true as well.
internal, and my little pushback is, are you sure? Because it's going to be way better if it's something which I talk about regularly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, true.
Cool. So now we have philosophized. Everyone is 10% wiser. So you got into Sophie Society, and what was your aim when you got into it? What's your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I actually sort of stumbled into this type of business of like supporting brands' growth.
Mm,
Sophie Society creates better converting listings and generates high relevance traffic through mostly Amazon PPC management.
mm,
So we do conversion services and traffic services, and the traffic is mainly the PPC, the Amazon PPC. And
smart.
I didn't think that I would do that because I was loving running and growing my brand. And
Mm,
uh, right after I started my brand and I started to see success, which was a mixture of skill, good timing, and luck, which I can now recognize in
mm,
retrospect, having served thousands of brands and seeing a lot of successes and a lot of failures. Yeah, there was a component of that to it as well. But I was I literally like quit my job. I moved to New Zealand. I bought a motorcycle and I started like living off my motorcycle, like motorcycling around the country.
mm.
And I lived in Manila for like 4.5 months, just chilling with my team there. I went to China. I ended up living in China for a full year in Shanghai. Um, but I was so involved in the seller community and I kept sharing. I was in a bunch of different masterminds. I still am. I'm in the Titan Network, which I think is a very excellent mastermind. I'm a
Mm.
mentor and I'm a leader in there. And I've been in a number of different masterminds. The first one I ever joined was um, Zon Squad, was what it was called, which is a great name. Um, but yeah, so being really active in these communities, you end up sharing your own lessons and skills and helping one another out. And I was sharing so much that people were coming to me for help on the things that I was sharing that I was able to crack the code of, or to do well at. And my background is in sciences. I have a degree in physics, and I thought I was going to be a physics researcher most of my like
Mm.
childhood and young adult life until I got strayed off by by this.
Making money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So thinking from first principles was a big help in this game.
Mm,
So I ended up helping a lot of sellers, and then made a company out of doing this, like being better at driving traffic, being better at converting listings, and also getting the click as well, which is completely
mm,
separate from the conversion, is the click. So we do that as well. And yeah, so Sophie Society was born, and we've overseen well over 2,000 product launches. I need to get the actual number on that. And well over 1,500 listings at this point. We track the metrics on every single one, so we actually know on average what the changes do to a listing. We have
mm,
every single listing, whether it's our own brands, a brand I've invested in, or a brand that's just paying us to help them with their conversion. We put them into a conversion tracker, and when the listing is updated, we first take the trailing 30-day conversion rate, if it's conversion that we're measuring. If it's click-through rate, then click-through rate. Whatever the main metrics say it's conversion rate. And then after it's uploaded, our people can't close out the project until they fill in the number after it's been online for another 30 days. And then we take it 90 days as well. So we're really using like the actual data to drive decisions. And that's how we've come up with like formulas for success and different elements of the content of a listing, which we could talk about if you want.
No, I love that. And I think that it's very hard, as you said, to do traffic without conversion because, I mean, it's like throwing money at a wall and telling someone, oh, you need to make your listing better. Like, well, yeah, probably before sending the money, sending the traffic to it.
But it's so funny how that most brands take it the other way around. And I think it's because a lot of the courses that teach Amazon, they kind of make these promises. And especially if they're selling like products that are like, they're giving them products to start with, they kind of have to stand behind them. So they have to say, yeah, your product is great. Your listing is great. It's all about PPC. So sometimes we get brands coming in that say, I am drowning. My margins are way negative. Like it's because of my PPC. Fix my PPC, and we'll go in there, optimize the PPC. But it very quickly becomes clear that this is a conversion rate issue, and the conversion rate issue can either be product or it can be listing. You hope it's listing. If the product is good, then it's much easier to change a product than it is to change a listing than it is to change out your entire product.
Yeah. So these guys come to you, when somebody wants to work with you, they come to you. How's that usually work?
Yeah. They can engage with us either to regularly manage their PPC. So they get a dedicated PPC manager. We have automations on the back end for the boring stuff like bid optimization, budget optimization, day parting, and things like that. But there has to be a person. This is why so many brands like end up just decimating their ACOS or their margins by completely leaving it up to one of these AI tools. I'm not a fan of that, and I've seen a lot of brands like get hurt real bad from doing this. So this is like the stock market, it's a human marketplace where you're bidding on placements instead of bidding on stocks. So there's always going to be human involvement. Think about what you would do if somebody like said, hey, I've got a program that will automatically trade stocks for you. You'd be like, well, that's a scam. So they come, we have a person actually doing their PPC management and a person who they can talk to. But because we have the economics of scale, because we deal with so many brands, you get like a really experienced, super high tier, successful Amazon PPC manager or seller in and of themselves, for the cost that you would have paid, the same or less than the cost that you would have paid for a full-time inexperienced person who's just a random freelancer that you found. Because we have our systems down, and we have processes in place, and we have our own internal philosophy, our own internal masterminds to be able to effectively manage, so we can dedicate really high level resources to people with millions of dollars of ad spend under their belt. So it just makes sense. It's what I would do if I was to do it all over again, because it gives you access to the highest level talent for the price of what you would pay for low level talent. So that's the traffic side of it. For the conversion side of it, which is great that we have both, because then the really experienced PPC managers can look at your brand and be like, okay, we're driving traffic to this listing, but we can see, which Amazon makes it easy to see now. You have brand analytics, product opportunity explorer. You can actually see benchmark data for these, conversion and click-through rate metrics that are unrelated to PPC but affect PPC. So they could say, hey, look, it's obvious that for this keyword or for this niche, your conversion is below benchmark. You're not going to stick the ranking. If you do ranking campaigns for this product, you need to get your conversion up. So that's where our conversion team comes in. So they'll optimize the images, they'll optimize the text in all over the listing, the bullets, the title, the A+ content text, the back end. And then they'll optimize, especially, this is what we really specialize in, is the content in the middle of the listing, where it's the A+ content or the premium A+ content, if you can get access to that, and the brand story modules. So this is where we kind of have an X factor, because we have a formula that we've come up with, like I said, after doing thousands of brands content and measuring the data on it, we've hypothesized different formulas that would work well for this content. So we came up with, through just testing nonstop over time, and we continue to adjust the formula as well as we continue testing things, what works. And so these parts of the listing that give you more creative freedom, like brand story, like A plus content, it's such an open door. People don't really know how to handle it, and that's where we come in. Like we know how to optimize those sections of the listing that really have like a lot of creative freedom. So we optimize those, and it can have a really dramatic impact on conversion. Like, on the low end, you'll usually see, if you have start with no A plus content and brand story, or just bad A plus content and brand story. On the low end, you'll see a few absolute percentage points. So, and a few absolute percentage points is a double digit percentage increase relatively. So, if I'm going, for instance, from a 10% conversion to a 13% conversion, that's 3 absolute points, right? But actually, I'm getting 30% more sales, because 13 is 30% more than 10. So it's actually a 30% increase in your sales. So that's on the low end. You'll get like a few absolute percentage points, but we've had plenty of listings that had gigantic increases in conversion. Like they'll go from 17% conversion to like 27% conversion, or 40% conversion to 55% conversion. Things like that happen regularly as well. So it can have a really big impact. And like you said before, don't waste time dumping money into driving traffic to a listing that's not converting. If you see your conversion is below benchmark, find a way to increase it to get it at least at benchmark, if not above.
Cool. Yeah, I totally agree with that. So you talk about benchmark. So are you using Amazon's new, newish brand analytics stuff for benchmarking?
Yes.
And how would you suggest someone uses that to benchmark themselves?
Well, you can see the entire funnel with brand analytics now, which is great. And you can see it by search term too. So you can see what percentage of the clicks you're getting, what percentage of the add to carts you're getting, what percentage of the purchases you're getting, and how that compares to the average for the niche. So this is super powerful, because now you can see where you stand. So is my click through rate low, or is my click through rate high? Is my conversion rate low, or is my conversion rate high? And you have to pair this, by the way, with Product Opportunity Explorer. They both have different data, but you can see like everything relating specifically to keywords is really really key, because now you could see like how relevant you are for different search intents. Say I'm selling like toy blocks for kids to play with, and because of my images and because of my title, I'm converting really well for kids toy blocks, but I'm not converting well for learning toys for kids, even though that's the primary use of my product. And most people that are searching learning toys for kids end up buying a product like mine. So something is wrong. Either my image isn't displaying that these toys are for learning, or the keywords not showing up in either the image through the packaging or the title. So yeah, so it allows you to just find out where the problem is, and then you can dive into figuring out what the actual solution is to the problem.
That's a massive, massive gold nugget for anyone who's watching or listening to dive deep into their brand analytics, because I know people that still don't look at it.
Oh, dude, it's huge. That was one of the biggest things that happened last year. It was either last year or the end of the year before. I think it was beginning of last year. Uh, was brand analytics. There's a lot to it too. There's a lot of different views. You can view by product, view by search term. Um, Yeah, and Product Opportunity Explorer as well. So much wisdom, comes out of that.
Nice. And then you talked about click-through rate. When you're looking for improving click-through rate, image and title, what's your hypothesis that drives click-through rate?
Yeah, this is a huge thing for us. I feel like this is really like kind of a ignored topic. People talk about it, but just like touch on it. This is a whole science, and there's some like impressive success stories about companies and brands that have optimized click-through rate with intention. And a couple examples are Thrasio, which a lot of people know. This is an Amazon aggregator that was one of the fastest growing companies in U.S. history, that bought up a bunch of Amazon brands. They still exist, still buying up brands. So it's the biggest aggregator. They bought a brand called Angry Orange, and they're public about this story. One of the founders, John, told me this.
Yeah, it's their main sales story.
Yeah, yeah. So they bought this brand, Angry Orange, and I talked to John Hefter, who's like one of the late stage co-founders of Thrasio, essentially, and he's the one that like oversaw this acquisition, and he was tasked with because it was one of the early ones. It was in I think it was in 2019 when they were really just getting warmed up with all this. He was tasked with getting this brand selling more so they could have a big success. And the main thing that they did was optimize click-through rate. And the main way they did it was they immediately changed all the packaging from this like bottle with like a sticker label on it with the brand name as the biggest word and then a bunch of different text of all these different benefits and features all on the front of the bottle, right? You can't read it from the listing thumbnail. It just looks like a bunch of text. And if you really look close, you see that it says Angry Orange on it. They changed it, made it super simple, made it a bright orange, like safety cone color. And you guys listening to this now, you can just search Amazon for Angry Orange. You'll see what I mean. So it pops out. It's the first thing your eyes go to on the search results. And not only that, but they changed the text on the packaging from Angry Orange being the biggest text to Odor Eliminator being the biggest text. So they matched the text on the image with the primary search term, or at least the buyer intent. So they have stain remover, odor eliminator, things like that. This brand went from a 7-figure brand to well into the 8 figures. They 20x'd the revenue on the brand in a short amount of time by just dominating the click-through rate and just getting all the clicks, just cleaning up all the clicks. And it's completely independent from conversion rate, right? They might get a bunch of clicks, and then once people get on the listing, they don't like what they see, and then they click off. That's a whole different thing. Optimizing your conversion rate is completely independent from optimizing your click-through rate. They're related, but there's actually not that much overlap. You can not get a lot of clicks, but the clicks you do get, they convert great. Or you can get all the clicks and they're not converting once they get on the listing. You got to have both. So yeah, optimizing the main primary image is one of the main things. By the way, another success story of this is Zesty Paws. That's the name of it. AJ Patel sold this brand for $600 million. And it only took them, I think, 5 or 6 years to grow the brand from 0 to 600 million. I mean, it's an insane story in our space. It was the biggest acquisition I had ever heard of at the time by a long shot. And yeah, so this is one of the things that they did as well. You could see if you guys can search this yourself, you'll see what I mean. The Zesty Paws packaging is meant to take up the entire thumbnail. It's this like fat, short cylinder that when viewed from the side looks just like a square box, which is the exact dimension of the Amazon thumbnail. So they take up all the white, there's no white space. And the rest of the brands, they look really small compared to it and it draws the eye. And again, they did this strategy of having bright orange, bright purple, like all these colors that are really bright that draw the eye. So, and also they did the same thing with the text as well. So they have on their omega-3, like chewable omega-3 or whatever, like they have the product name or the solution name on the product packaging with text that can be read from the thumbnail. So this is really, really a powerful strategy. Not every brand can pull it off and not every brand can put their packaging in their main image. So maybe that's not an option for you, but optimizing the main image is one of the most powerful things you can do for your brand as a whole. Past that, there are a lot of hacks that you can do, like legal hacks. I mean, I'm calling them hacks. They're just strategies and tactics that you can do that get more clicks. One of them is called the Climate Pledge Friendly Badge. So the Climate Pledge Friendly Badge, you have to comply with either Amazon's own Compact by Design certification or any number of third-party certifications that they partner with. So they have so many certifications on this list that pretty much any brand can get this if you go through enough of the certifications. Some of them you have to pay. Some of them are more expensive than others. If you qualify for Amazon's own Compact by Design, it's free. But anyway, once you get one of these certifications, you get this badge on your listing. And not only is it green and it says climate pledge friendly so that you're viewed as much more environmental to the shopper. So they feel better about, investigating your product and purchasing your product and clicking your product. But also it does something else, which we discovered when we were A/B testing some of these strategies inside our PPC mastermind in Sophie. It bumps out the size of your listing. So in mobile search results, the more of these badges that you have, the bigger your listing shows up. And again, for people who are not driving while listening to this, I really recommend you search this on your own while you're listening to me, so you can see what I mean. Open your Amazon app on your cell phone and type in organic coffee and look at the search results. This is a really good example because a lot of them have the badge, a lot of them don't. You're going to see listing thumbnail sizes that vary dramatically. Some of them are double what some of the biggest ones are double what some of the smallest ones are, literally, or near double, like 80-90% bigger than the smallest ones, which is insane. So you could literally crowd out the other listings by using some of these tactics, getting some of these badges. It's pretty powerful. And with the attention economy, 3/4 of all of the traffic to an Amazon listings is coming from mobile traffic now. So it's mobile first. So it's really powerful. There are other badges as well. We can get into them if you want. And there are other ways to bump up the size of the listing. So if you want to go deep on that, we can.
So they act like power-ups. So like every one gives you a little bit bigger. Is that the way that you see it?
Yes, they stack. Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
They stack against one another. So, each one will make your listing anywhere between 8% and 12% bigger. And when you stack them, you can get all the way up to 70-80% bigger than a listing that doesn't have them.
It's like the male enhancement product of Amazon listings.
Yeah, exactly. Grow your listing naturally
by up to 80%.
by up to 80%.
Organically.
Yeah, organically. Yeah, exactly.
There's some really, really good nuggets there. And we will summarize them below this episode so that you can jump around and see those. So yeah, thank you for sharing, Chris. It's awesome.
Nice. Yeah, for sure.
So we are just about to go into the competition section of the show.
Cool.
Are you willing to support me in this?
Yes, I'm in. I'm committed 100%. Let's go.
Get your little back dress ready to go. So
I have it run under my desk.
As part of the Amazon Strategist Show, we want to give back to our listeners and viewers. So if you see a little below this, whether it's in the description, below the video, or in the podcast episode description, there is a link to enter our competition. Every week we run a competition where our guests bring something to put on the wheel. And we also have many amazing prizes from our previous guests still there. So you might win something from Chris, or you might win something from one of our guests in the future. So Chris very kindly has put up one ticket to his sold out exclusive profitable PPC challenge. Definitely a challenge. If you're trying to be profitable, not just rank. Usually sold for $97. Also on the wheel, we have some $400 of free reimbursements from our sponsors, Seller Candy, which is us. We also have a 30-minute call with Don from AccrueMe, awesome guy. Amazing at Home, AI Hello, Canopy, I think that's a call with Brian directly from Canopy. Nate, Econ Balance, $500 worth of bookkeeping credits, so you should get on your bookkeeping. And Ping Pong, a free 30-minute call with them to get better rates, because if you're selling anywhere else in the world, Amazon is probably taking too much of your money. You should probably go and use any third party just to receive your money, whether it's Ping Pong or whether it's someone else. Wow, there's the wheel. All right, so in post, this will have amazing music, but in right now, it does not have amazing music. So Chris, you have control. You don't really have control. You have to say spin that wheel and then it will spin.
Okay. Spin that wheel.
I like that. I think there'd be an amazing audio clip if you saying spin that wheel. We should just use that as a button. Soundboard. Maybe I can do that. Maybe I can get my stream deck to like every speaker we have a different one. So awesome. Who's going to say it today? Today it's Norm. It's Chris. Yeah. Awesome. So sponsored profit, one of your competitors on some of the stuff. But yeah, so 30-minute consultation about PPC. And I'm going to spin it again.
Spin that wheel.
We need a higher frame rate on the wheel.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
We're going to give away some money. So, yeah, $400 with Seller Candy. So if you need any reimbursements, well, if you're not using any other reimbursement platform, check out Seller Candy. And we also do that as part of our main service, which is supporting people with anything in the back end of seller support. All right, one more time. Do you want to do it one more time?
Yep, I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Spin that wheel.
Getting good at this. I'll stop paying you.
I mean, you can come have me in just to do that. I'll dial in.
Awesome. Really cool. So free 30-minute consultation with Don on any topic. If you haven't met Don before, he is an amazing entrepreneur, and I would highly recommend connecting with him. So enter below for a chance to win any of these 3 amazing prizes and all the prizes going forward. So every week we announce 3 more. Yeah, and that actually reminded me of what you were saying earlier. When you were sharing that, you've done so many of these things. So you have people who are super high level delivering affordable service to sellers because they've all, they work on so many different accounts. And that's exactly the same way, Seller Candy works. Because, what we do is we provide, absolute experts on dealing with all the stuff in the back end of Seller Central that nobody wants to do. But from $600 a month, because we spread it over so many people who are doing it. So you don't have to spend, $2K for someone who, an outsourced assistant who can do it, or, $7K in the US, because US is insanely expensive right now.
Yeah, and then you get people with processes, right? Like
Yeah.
the processes in place, and also the collective hive mind. Like, this is the thing. I mean, I do the same for any of my own businesses or businesses I'm invested in. I recommend going with a trusted agency because of the fact that you get that hive mind collective. If it's really difficult to find a good one because there's so many bad ones. But if you can find one that's actually trusted, like, I mean, internally for us, we take it so seriously. We have an internal mastermind, and we have internal like chats on every different topic where we're constantly dropping new knowledge, constantly dropping like the results of an experiment that we did. And every account manager and every PPC manager gets to learn from the mistakes and the successes of every other one. So you just grow like exponentially faster, and you get access to so much more data than just someone on their own or trying to do it by yourself. And that's how we're able to be so much more effective. And so it just makes sense. I'm sure it's the same for you guys as well. You're able to get the best, and you're able to advance so much more quickly because you have that hive mind. And and I think it comes down to culture as well, because I think the reason people have so many bad experiences with agencies is because a lot of them don't have that culture of greatness, like really caring and spending most of their time figuring out how to be better at what they do. And that's certainly our culture. Like, you can ask any Sophie that we're actually hosting an event, the Profitable PPC Challenge that you mentioned. That was our giveaway. Nobody got it this round, but maybe next time. And so we host this event, and we get business out of the event because people learn about PPC from us and trust us because of what they learn. And then they end up, some of them end up, signing up with us to manage their PPC for them. But that's not our focus. And if you ask anybody in the company what our focus is, we're obsessively focused on delivering, making sure that everybody who comes to this challenge comes away with a better understanding of their own PPC and their problem solved. I think we're the only event that I know of, or the little mentoring group that I know of, just for these 5 days, that actually provides an 8-to-1 participant to mentor ratio during the entire time of the 5 days of the challenge. So, I mean, normally it's about 10 times that, right? Like, maybe one mentor to every like 80 participants or 100 participants. We keep it at that ratio and we cap it because we want every single person to get like dedicated, focused attention and get their actual problem solved. So we're really focused on providing value, and you guys are the exact same way, which we learned when we had that intro call that made our companies become friends, Seller Candy and Sophie. So I think that's why we vibe with one another, because we have similar cultures in that way.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and it's the first time we've met. I don't know did you meet someone from our team before? Or was it someone on your team?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, you were not there, but I was. And we had a little love fest. I think we got along really well. So yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
No, I love that. And yeah, as you said, it's volume. So, if we're handling 20,000 support tickets a year, then we see a huge volume of flow and culture.
Right.
Like I talked to my business coach. I have a weekly call with a coach, and his thing is like, you've got these above average people, and how are you supposed to create an exceptional company with only above average people? So how do you upskill them or plan for succession, as well as keeping the culture, keeping that learning hunger, the support and values and everything like that? So yeah, I'm a big believer in that.
So what is the answer to that? So the scaling of that.
Well, I mean, to go with your gut when someone's good, they're doing a good job, but they're never going to be exceptional. To look after them, be kind, and then plan for their succession. Some people have got the horsepower to get you to a certain level, and then hopefully you can move them somewhere else in the business if that's where they can go. But I think there's different people for different levels in a business. And as long as we look after people, treat them well, look after them, I think it's all good.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's always been hard for me, because I treat my people as like a family, and we really are extremely close. We were actually talking before we recorded this about our company retreats and what we do, right? And how we do, fun stuff and adventures, not just, whiteboarding and quarterly planning. And it really is like a family to me. So that's always been one of my biggest, like, toughest sticking points. Is like, there's that old startup saying that hire slow, fire fast. Yeah. I hire slow, fire slow, which is probably not good. But I also think one of the keys, and this is something that I think I am fairly good at, is recognition. So like recognizing when somebody is really performing well and they should be given an opportunity to better express their strengths, moving them into the space where they can. And especially when that aligns with their personal goals in their life. I think this is something I'm just starting to really wrap my head around. And we're trying really hard to get this like deeply ingrained in the company for every single person in the company, for us to have an understanding and me to have an understanding and their manager to have an understanding of what their life goals are outside of being at this company. Like, do they want to start their own business at some point in the future? Do they want security for their family and they just want to be on like a secure, like upward trajectory? What do they want? Do they want to launch their brand on Amazon? Maybe they want to do that and learn all about the industry for that reason. We want to know. Like, it's not a threat for me to know that. It's good for me to know that, because then I can align what they do with the company with their personal passions. And then I've got a person working for the company who's obsessed with producing results, because they know they're in a spot where they're getting the skills and they're getting the relationships and they're getting all of the resources that they need for their own life path by working at the company. And I think, if you can achieve that, I don't think we're fully there, but we are trying our best. And I'm definitely like putting a lot of energy behind that intention. I think that unlocks like insane growth. I really think that's like one of the secrets to longevity and growth in the long term.
Yeah, me too. And we've been doing that as well. So like part of that, like career mapping, figuring out how it's joined, and identify that completely of treating team too much like family. I'd say too much because we let things continue too long in the past. When we first started out, we put up with mediocrity for too long without holding people to account. So me bringing in competent, empathetic middle management, higher level management, who's not me, because I'm not the people leader. I'm good at the communicating and the leadership part, not the holding people to account and managerial part. I just lose my mind, or I just get as distracted with something else, and then they carry on with it.
Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean that's been great. Having a leader in the company who's empathetic, but also will say, "What are you doing? Why are you not doing this? You said you'd do it."
Yep.
Holding people to account.
Yeah, that's one of the main differences between the previous company that I had a really tough experience with getting taken over by a predatory investor, and this company is that I had a company with 50 employees and no leaders, or at least no leaders that I recognized as leaders and elevated to leadership
Yeah.
status. But I also, our hiring process was off too because I really wasn't looking for leaders. I was looking for specific skills, and I ended up with 50 people answering to me, and I was working ridiculous hours like every week, like absurd. I had my assistant do an analysis of my calendar, and it was nearly 40 hours just of time in meetings per week on
I've
average.
been there.
Yeah, and you're like, so that's time in meetings. So that means your actual work starts after 40 hours has already gone out of your week. A normal person's like full week. It's crazy. And now I'm in a position which, it's not like a straightforward path, but with intention and with, the meaning behind Sophie, I brought real leaders into the company. And I do have good, strong, motivated, competent leaders in this company whose own goals are aligned with the company's. And it's a night and day difference.
I love it. So if you're listening and you're just starting out and you've got your first one or two team members, keep looking for those leadership qualities. And leadership qualities is just taking ownership, taking ownership and holding on to it until the outcome comes. That's all I say to our people who said, I want to be in a leadership position. And it's like, well, what have you seen, taken ownership of, and made sure happened that wasn't necessarily your responsibility? You don't have to do it, but you need to own the outcome.
Yes, that's right. Break through whatever brick walls come up between you and getting that final outcome.
Yes, push hard.
Totally.
So we always ask one strategic question to everyone that comes on the show, which is, what is one strategic element you think most people are missing while selling on Amazon?
Well, we already talked about click-through rate, so probably shouldn't repeat that one. But that's definitely one that I think most people are missing. But for this, I'll say a lot of brands haven't utilized the brand story module inside their listing. It's just not seen as kind of standard. I think brands kind of see it as extra. But think about what A+ content was, or EBC was, like when it first came out years back. Like it was a question. Do you have EBC loaded? No, I don't have that. Now it's every single brand has it, right? Like if you don't have it, then you're waiting until you can get it, basically. And I think that's the same with brand story now. Brands are not using it properly who do have it uploaded, and most brands don't even have it uploaded. And it really creates a significant difference. You see it in the numbers. So, and also it's an opportunity to cross-sell your other products. This is one of the types of cards you can use in the brand story cards. For people that don't know, brand story is a section that shows up right above your A+ content on your Amazon listing, and it's in the form of swipeable cards. So you swipe them to the left, and you can have a ton of cards in there. You can have, I'm not even sure what the cap is. I think we've had up to 15. At a certain point, it becomes ridiculous because it's like, how many cards is someone really going to swipe? But one of the card formats is other products. So you can use it pretty much as ads. It's free ads, basically. Free Amazon ads, essentially, is what it is. Because it's product listing images that are clickable that lead to that listing. So, and it crowds out other space on your listing that might actually be selling someone else's product, because there's a lot of sponsored space on your listing that other brands have. So it's really smart to do. It's not that hard to set up. It's a very straightforward format. There are only 3 different types of modules that you can use. So yeah, that's the strategy point that I would give to brands listening right now.
Oh, I love it. So yeah, everyone should be taking advantage of the latest stuff with Amazon, because it's not as competitive and not as well used until everyone starts using it.
Until it becomes ubiquitous. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Thank you. So last part is the rapid fire questions. We have 7 rapid fire questions. Chris, are you ready?
Yes, let's rock it.
Okay. Question number 1. What is your favorite Amazon niche?
I always go to the dog accessories. I don't know why, but I'm always going there. I honestly, for a seller, I would say consumables products. I love it. But I always go to dog accessories specifically.
Nice. If you could choose no pictures or no reviews, which would you pick?
I say no reviews.
Name a country that starts with the letter T.
Transylvania. I don't know if that's a country.
Not sure. I don't know either. Which Amazon marketplace is the next big opportunity?
Germany.
Pineapple on pizza. Yes or no?
Definitely yes.
Name something appealing about working from home.
I'm not wearing pants right now.
Name something you'd hate to find swimming around in your bathtub.
Yes, a tiny gremlin mermaid.
If it was a real gremlin, it'll be having little baby gremlins everywhere as well. Terrible.
Yeah. Millions.
So, thank you. You have some of the best answers we've ever had on the Amazon Strategist Show.
Nice.
Thanks, Chris. So, thank you for being here. If anyone wants to contact you, follow you, stalk you on the internet, what's the best way to stay in touch or reach out?
Yeah, I'm a real person. On Instagram, I'm Hippie Mogul. So it's pretty easy to remember, Hippie Mogul.
I like it.
Yeah. So if you want to reach out to me, you can there. I do check my DMs there because a lot of times I'm sending out white papers and stuff to people. But yeah, hello@sophiesociety.com is a way to reach me via email or my team via email. So I always check that as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chris. And there's some really good nuggets here we're going to be able to share, create social posts and share with you. So, thank you so much for being here. Thanks to anyone who's watching the show. And that brings us to the end of the episode. So if you've got value, please do like, subscribe, share, ask Chris to share, reach out to Chris, tell him you love the episode. That's how he comes back. And until next time, this is the Amazon Strategist Show, sponsored by Seller Candy. Go and check out Seller Candy, and thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys.